back. Um, this video will talk about my personal experiences of dealing with the person in my life who I basically consider to be something similar to the devil herself. So I had my spiritual awakening end of 2018. And then afterwards came my dark night of the soul around 2020. And people are like different aspects of yourself. They mirror aspects of yourself and they get put on purpose into your reality based on what is relevant for you right now and is a mirror for what's going on within yourself, within your energetical field. So in 2020, I was very low. And I attracted a lot of bad people. Just randomly, I would walk out of the house and they would be mean for no purpose, and I would need to fight them off because they would just not treating me nice. This would typically also happen after a relapse, but back then I was figuring out my energy, so I was mostly in this very negative feeling, not balanced in everything. And then it got better and better, and I learned more skills of how to handle my energy better. And yeah, I mean, it was already much better in 2022, but a lot of bad stuff still happened also in 2023. But in general, I would say I'm healing, because what happened in 2020 didn't repeat anymore for the most part. Maybe in early 2021, and then once when I relapsed later, something happened where a guy was mean to me on a motorcycle and nearly drove me over. And then other stuff can happen, like I get hacked or something. But if I would say, based on intensity of these negative experiences, it got much better. The hacking did not bother me as much as stuff that happened before. When, for example, the mother of my daughter sued me and I had to defend myself with a lawyer. This was the worst, honestly. In the external real world, I had worse experiences on a spiritual level before, during my dark night of the soul, but in the real exterior world, this was the worst. And I processed it, and it only gets better. And I think the higher I get, because life is like a lucid dream, the less the life will mirror badness to me. But I still always have to encounter negativity. But this is exactly for what light warriors like me came to this planet. We have to deal with the unfairness and the bad systems, beast system that this world is ruled based on. And we have to process these collective energies to elevate the entire planet. It's normal that when you have a spiritual awakening, you have a dark night of the soul later, and you start basically from zero, and then you build yourself up, and eventually you rise again, and you elevate every system that you're interacting with and other humans. But it can be an ugly, dirty process, because you yourself need to learn to act optimally. And so you also get into fights, and sometimes you act unbalanced and you have to shout at someone or fight someone off. So I was at the lowest during my dark night of the soul, therefore attracted bad people. And I don't just talk about those random strangers that would show up and treat me bad and then I would never see them again. I talk about aspects that were more persistent. There was this one guy who was fighting me and punching me only because he didn't like what I was saying. He was responding to my words by pure violence, harming my throat chakra. I got, of course, one back on him. I was able to kick him out of my dormitory, and then he lost all his friends because they are not that close, and it was only possible for him to be so close with them because he was sharing the same environment. But then he had to go somewhere away, pay more money to sustain his new living situation. Plus, of course, I caused him stress because I called police and they had to argue with him and he had to show up to hearing and so on. And because he needed to go somewhere else where he needed to pay more money, he needed to take a job additional to his studying. He failed his semester, couldn't focus on exams because it all happened when the exam time was, so he couldn't learn. He failed his semester and he needed to take an additional job to gain extra money and was working at a service hotline. And you can imagine, this is the perfect job for someone like him who has anger issues, because on service hotlines, who will typically call there? People who are not happy with the service and have to complain that something does not work properly. So I'm sure here and there he had to encounter someone who was pissed at him, and yeah, maybe he got a bit humbled because he needed to stay professional and couldn't argue back with them. This is what I think. I had a lot of negative emotions and was processing them because of what he did to me, and I was always sending everything back to him, every anger that I felt. And one time, much later, I saw him out of the bus. He was standing outside at the bus stop, and he gained weight. He did not look as fit anymore as before. To me, a clear indicator that his life is stressful, and I think he deserves it. He needs to learn. You cannot just use violence because you feel your ego is triggered and you think you need to get one up on people, and use pure strength to get your point. Very animalistic, low behavior, so he needs to learn, and I guess his life makes him learn. The same guy in the past already stabbed someone with a knife. Luckily, he had no knife and he was attacking me, lol. Anyway, this is long ago, but I attracted someone else in 2020. The woman, the mother of my child. We had something shortly going on before it got revealed to me what a difficult person she is, because we had a misunderstanding. First misunderstanding that we had directly was fatal and led to us fighting heavily, because she exactly triggers me as well. Because she always is so opinionated and cannot take any other opinion. The moment you say something she doesn't like, it turns into a big fight, just by a disagreement. She always wants everything to be her way. She, in my opinion, is like the devil herself, including most of the people that are related to her. For example, I was having to see my daughter at the place she decided to live with, the mother, and she decided to live together with another so-called friend of her, who she later dropped because this friend was always naggy and, I don't know, cocky and always provocative. And this was also my experience with this person. So because I have to deal with the mother of my child, I had also to encounter other people who are on the same frequency like her. And they're all liars, you know. They like to lie because it gives them benefit. She herself, the mother, had a short relationship with some weirdo guy, and then she broke up because he was lying to her. I understand why someone would lie to her. She does not give you any other possibility to deal with her, because she uses everything against you. The moment she is not in agreement, it gets very problematic. I had to deal with the mother of the mother, because in the beginning the mother moved to her, basically to the grandma of my daughter. And this woman is also same difficult, and I know the backstory of them. You know, the mother of my child had issues in school, she was bullied, and then she was thinking about changing her gender, tying off with a rope her breasts, her chest to look more like a boy. She would talk online with some 63-year-old guy when she was still a teenager, and the guy was wanting not a relationship, whatever he wanted. Stuff that is like pervert and not legal. And she had such things going on, and the mother of her had to come and cut off the internet connection so it doesn't continue. So you see, a lot of difficult stuff happened. Yeah, she went to psychotherapy, the mother of my daughter, in the past because of bullying and everything, but if you ask me, it didn't really help. This person is totally unstable and paranoid, and always she finds reason to put problems into my way, suing me for a YouTube video that is still online, making me need to defend myself, not knowing what's going on, having existential crisis because what she sued me for. You can get real trouble if it happens repeatedly, you can go to jail and stuff, but it was of course all crap. Nevertheless, I had to pay a lot of money to the lawyer just to defend myself. This is not fair, that the system you did nothing wrong and still you have to defend yourself and pay a lot of money. Normally the government should take this because I was the victim here, obviously. I remember when I was going to the lawyer, I wasn't sure still what is even the issue, for what am I sued, and I was always going to a church because it was close by. I was taking a bus, and when I would arrive close to the lawyer, I still had like, I don't know, 40 minutes sometimes or whatever before my appointment that the lawyer is. And there was a church nearby. I would go there and look at the huge depiction of Jesus and pray to him for help and that everything will turn out fine. One time I even hallucinated in a near dream. I was asking my higher self, will everything resolve smoothly? Will there be issues? Will I be sued? I asked something like, will I have real issues and something terrible will happen? And then I saw a visual of a bottle cap, because I'm collecting bottle caps. And on the bottle cap in Russian, even though I asked the question in German or English, in Russian it was written "Нет." It means no. And this really helped me, and my girlfriend back then was very supportive. Yeah. Okay, I successfully was able to fight off the whole suing situation and nothing happened to me. But you can imagine how angry I was at the mother of my daughter that she sued me for crap and made me lose money and put me into existential crisis. This is the type of stuff she would do. I had also always attracted relationships in the past where the women were making drama. When they felt not loved enough or not paid enough attention to them, they would always create drama. I had one girlfriend, she was always coming to my place in the dormitory, but then packing her stuff the moment something goes off. Then she would take her bag and everything and go down to her car, down the steps. I lived in 3rd floor. Always I had to run after her, argue with her that it's fine, and then we had a discussion every time, over and over, like in a comedian sketch, at the car. And then I would always convince her it's fine and she can come back up with me. And then we would always have to go back up. I would have to carry all her stuff that she carried down, carry it up again, all the 3 levels of my dormitory, and this would happen again and again. Also, my last girlfriend, also always drama. The moment I say something wrong, she gets triggered, and for some bullshit. One time, closely before we broke up, she was in Iran. She is from Iran, or wherever she was. It doesn't even matter. Point is, she came back, and I had to pick her up from Luxembourg airport. I had not enough sleep. I came there. It takes you multiple hours to get from my place to Luxembourg airport. Then I pick her up and she runs at me with a smile, and I'm just tired and I don't have the same smile, but I still hug her and everything, but directly she is angry. And she had all the luggages and she told me, yeah, I can carry, you don't need to carry all of them. And I was like, thank God, I'm already so exhausted. And somehow this triggered her, that this was my reaction instead of happiness that after a month she comes back. But this is just how I act. This is just my character. And she was not okay with my character and directly having attitude. And those girls, and they have attitude for half of the day. You cannot talk to them because they don't talk back. And only after half of the day, they are chill again. And this happened over and over. Just with this other girl, it was similar that I had before. And I have to deal with such girlfriends in the past. And I have the impression they always required me to be perfect, to act exactly they want me to. And I try to be perfect. This is why I'm doing NoFap and everything. But this is just not a healthy mirror. Love, you attract always the person in love and also in other situations that mirror exactly your understanding of what it takes to be loved and accepted. And maybe subconsciously my understanding of what I need to be like to be loved and accepted is that I need to be perfect. And those women were mirroring it to me, and of course it's not healthy. So now it's over, and finally I found a girlfriend who is kind of the opposite. My girlfriend from Japan. She takes the blame more on herself if something doesn't go well. She's always worried that she messed up. She also, based on her culture, but not only, tries to always act so good and also perfect, basically. So in this case, she is the one that tries to be perfect. For me, it's much easier this way, but I always try to encourage her that she can be more chill and relaxed and shouldn't be so worried. And I try to build up her confidence. So I think this is a very healing relationship finally, where it's not about a negative mirror, but this time I have externalized the aspect of being perfect and I try to heal it in her, and therefore I also heal myself. So I connect better with a part of me, I think. So my girlfriend is all very supportive. My last one was also supportive, but always making drama. But this one is like better, you know? So yeah, I can go to her and complain when something doesn't go well with the mother of my child, who I consider devil herself. Because honestly, if there would be one aspect that exactly mirrors all the demonic shit that I had to encounter during my Dark Night of the Soul, where I had haunted dreams, where demonic entities would mess with me, attack me. In the dream, they would sometimes have such an ugly laugh, like ha 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 ha, shoo-be-doo! Complete crazy stuff they would do in the dream state, those demonic entities. Well, and the mother mirrors this perfectly. I mean, I know I had to chill there sometimes with my daughter at the place of the mother, and then the mother wasn't there because she was going out or whatever. And there was a manga book, collection of mangas. I was just looking into it. It's just disgusting. There was one manga where some anime girl would fly somehow magically into the sky, and then her entire body would dissolve. Suddenly, I don't know, she lost her skin, then her organs went out, she was dissolving into nothingness. And I thought it's such a scary, disgusting thing to draw, and it's cursed. And this is the type of stuff that the mother of my daughter is interested in. I know she was always drawing ugly, weird, creepy monsters and stuff, so she has her demons in herself. And yeah, from all the aspects, if humans are aspects, she is the demonic aspect. And since I attracted her back then and we got a daughter, now I have to deal with her. I don't know, is this like some healing of this aspect in me, and this is why she is still there, and I have to fight off this demonic aspect of myself and learn to be in peace with it. So yeah, she exists. She has such a weird opinion when it comes to trans. She always talks about, yeah, if the daughter wants to become trans, then she will support her with the operation and giving her the male hormones or whatever. Why is she focused on such stuff? Obviously because she herself had issues when she was younger, and she also was thinking about becoming a boy because her own brother was forcing her to kiss him, and so she learned that it's not good to be a woman because then guys take advantage of you in a bad way. So she's completely skewed and fucked up, and she is what's the right word? She is projecting this on our daughter in an unhealthy way, and this is why it's very important for me to have child custody, so that the mother of my daughter cannot easily decide to make such an operation happen, for example. And in case there's another lockdown or whatever, I don't want that my daughter gets some experimental vaccine. But I will, of course, not tell it to the mother of my daughter, because the mother takes everything she can as weapon to use against me. I don't know. First, I needed to fight to even be able to see my daughter. She didn't let me. And the reason was the most ridiculous. So I was taking my daughter out of the house from the mother. And the mother was like a stalker looking out of the window to collect reasons to later annoy me. So she saw I was walking with a friend, and my daughter was directly behind me, maybe a meter, and it was an empty street. It's in a village and it was quiet. I can hear when a car comes, even if it's electro car. I have good hearing, nothing happened. But then they argued, the mother of my daughter and her husband, they argued that there were 30 meters apart from where I was and where my daughter was. 30 meters. Like you could put a huge dinosaur in between us, completely ridiculous. And then I told her how ridiculous it is, and then she downplayed it and said, okay, maybe it was 15 meters. Even though this is still ridiculous, you know? Completely crap. It was like 1 meter max, if not half a meter. So this is the embarrassing stuff I have to deal with. She would lie like this, completely carelessly, even no matter how stupid it is, how stupid she lies, she will still do it in front of court. She will do it with the psychotherapist that we have to go to him. And those people that, you know, the people from court and the psychotherapist, they always have to be neutral, and she can say every crap and they will not expose her for that. And then I have to fight by myself, and then I get angry sometimes and argue loudly or whatever. You know, I don't insult her or anything. Obviously, I don't use swearing. But of course, sometimes she provokes and then I cannot stay chill. And then later I get the trouble, and it doesn't matter again what kind of crap she is saying. She's paranoid. In the past, she was worried that we would kidnap my daughter and bring her to Russia. Complete paranoid bullshit. So she tried to let me not see my daughter at all. And the only reason I could see my daughter is because I forced it through the law and because I went to the court. If she could, she would completely not make me see my daughter. But now she's always like, no, it's fine. See, I let you see my daughter. I just don't want you to have child custody. Again, lying, because if I wouldn't have enforced it, I would not be able to see my daughter at all. To me, absolutely obvious. So this is why semen retention is also important. With such people, you cannot, argue. You just have to act optimally in any situation. Also, when other people are listening, you have to be completely cool, not get provoked, don't get angry, as good as possible. Because this person, to me, she's like the devil. She just tries to make me separate from my daughter, and she will always invent reasons and then say that I somehow drink alcohol in front of my daughter. I told her, it is malt beer. Malt beer is alcohol-free beer. Children can drink it as well. Mild beer. But still, every time she would mention it, yeah, the daughter said again that you were drinking, blah, 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 even though I was not. All the time the same crap. This time we went to the therapist, and then she was arguing that the daughter told her that my mother told the daughter, hey, we have good schools here in our city, why don't you go here? Basically, like, we would manipulate my daughter that she should stay with us and not with her mother. And I don't know, always coming up with such crap out of the blue, just to make it sound like we cannot be on the same level, and therefore I should not get child custody because our communication sucks and we would only have disagreements over and over. And this doesn't even make sense, because child custody is so that I can also have an opinion and enforce it, and not only the mother gets to do whatever she wants. This is exactly why I want child custody, and for some weird reason, she is exactly using this as the reason why I should not get child custody. And the whole law system somehow is supporting her. They're like, yeah, you only should get child custody if you can agree with the mother on a lot of points, and there will be no arguing. Yeah, but if I can just agree always with the mother, then why do I need child custody to begin with? I need it so I can have a veto right, so that I can also disagree if I feel something is not correct. So it doesn't make any sense. And you see, this whole system for child custody is completely skewed and against the man, and it's just harassing. And I know back then, when I took my daughter and the mother was looking out of the window and seeing that there was 1 meter distance between me and my daughter, then she directly called me, hey, bring the daughter back, you did bad. Actually, the husband was calling. He was like, what are you doing? You cannot walk like this with your daughter. She's so far away. She can get hit by a car. And I was already angry because I just figured out that they sued me for crap and it just got resolved. So I was completely don't caring about them, and I was like, fuck off. And I turned off the phone. I turned off the call, and he kept calling me again and told me, if you don't bring the daughter back right now, I will call police. And at this point, I insulted him and turned off the phone completely so he doesn't annoy. He was trying to call me like 30 times, and I just turned off the phone completely and quickly went away with my friend and with the daughter. And we went to some playground where they cannot find us. And later I bring the daughter back. The mother and the husband are super angry, but I cannot see police. So I got my way, and it was important to me because sometimes with those people you have to put to make your point, you know. I was like, okay, stop annoying me. No matter what you do, I will not bring the daughter back. It is my time right now. It is by law agreed that I can have my daughter now for a few hours, and you will not destroy it for me. And police, of course, didn't show up because police is not ridiculous. They probably called police, and police was like, it's his time to see his daughter, so nothing happened, and we will not investigate this. But after that, they did not want to give me the daughter at all, of course, again. They again used this as a reason, and then I had to fight at the court that I can see her again. And I succeeded, but I got harassment over and over. I needed to prove that I'm a good father. You know, you don't do anything, and still you need to prove you're a good father only because of random accusations from the mother that are not based in any reality. So there was a lot of humiliation rituals, where I had to play with my daughter while the mother was around and watching me. Then I needed to be with my daughter twice while there were representatives of the state watching if everything is okay and I behaved properly. And they were giving me unnecessary tips about what I can improve, even though I never asked for. And those strangers, they should stay out of how I am with my daughter. They have nothing to say, and I will never agree that this is okay. But I needed to go through all of this because otherwise I would not be able to see her, and I succeeded and could take her. And now I'm fighting for child custody, and still at every turn the mother tries to find some unnecessary reasons to annoy. And the whole system sucks. Because today I was acting not optimally. I was going to this therapy. You know, previous time we had a therapy session, and she just didn't show up. And she didn't inform anyone. She didn't inform the therapist, and she didn't inform me. Then I waited until the next time when it's time to pick up my daughter. I see the mother, I ask her, what was going on? Why didn't you show up? And she was like, oh, I forgot I was sick, and I forgot to mention, and I forgot to tell that I don't come. Yeah, thanks. You know? And then the new appointment was 3 weeks later, and nothing was going on. Finally, 3 weeks later, we have the appointment. She shows up and directly brings up crap again, that my daughter was scared that we will take her away from home. And I was like, obviously you manipulated her if she was scared, because nothing happened. When she was with us, everything was fine. And I'm not even sure it's true that my daughter was scared or worried or whatever. It might be a complete lie. And if it's not a complete lie, then it's manipulation from them. So they try everything, find reasons out of thin air, just to destroy my credibility and pretend that I'm not trustworthy to have child custody. I don't even know what they're so worried about. It's complete paranoid, nothing will happen, obviously. So out of nothing, that I want just to have my right, my legal right to also decide for my daughter. And they could just be okay with it and everything would fine. But no, they need to fight and make unnecessary bullshit out of it. And then it takes like a year and we always have to meet at the court and the therapist and argue about this for no reason. So when she was mentioning these accusations, I got angry and I was arguing with her and I wasn't keeping my voice down and so on. And the therapist at some point said, okay, you are both not in a good state for negotiation, obviously, so I think we should cut the therapies. So, no more therapies, just next time there's, in over a month, in a month there is our appointment again at the court, and that's it. The court told us to go to the therapies to get a better co-understanding. But, as you can see, it's not obvious, and it's her fault, obviously. But I could have stayed more chill. And I know that then the whole discussion would have evolved in a different way. Because if I would have stayed non-reactive, you know, I was talking too much about the whole situation with her. I should have just said, what you're accusing me of, I wasn't there, I cannot agree it's true or not. Maybe you make it all up. I should have just said, I think your accusations are out of thin air, out of the blue. and they have no validity. And I should not have continued arguing about it. But she always provokes me, because sometimes it works well, we go to therapy, everything is fine, and I think, okay, it's going somewhere. And then I'm always too naive. Then I always still try to see the positive in this woman. But then always again, she does some crap, and I don't know why I am so naive. I'm just too much of a good person for this world, for people like her. So if I feel like everything is going in a nice way, I also start to act more nice, and then I lower my guard, and I'm more open to arguing and not treating her like some enemy where you should watch every word that you say. And I should also watch every word that I say when I'm alone with my daughter over the weekend, because she will use it later as weapon. Basically, I would need to censor myself all the time to stay away from trouble, but I'm not agreeing to do that. But if I would not lower my guard, I would at least always only say the most necessary stuff to limit her ability to use whatever I say as a weapon, to weaponize everything against me. And yeah, because I lowered my guard, I was arguing with her because it hit me out of the blue that she again came with these accusations. So I'm already mentally preparing myself for the court situation in a month, that there, no matter what she says, I will stay grounded, and I will just say, this is out of thin air what you're accusing me of, and that's it. And I will not go into details. And if she brings up any crap, I will say, I don't remember. I don't remember this, I don't remember that. And yeah, I need to limit as much as possible my responses, because if I start to try to defend my point and explain, she will just have more fuel to again annoy. For example, this time she was bringing up that my daughter would have like hysteria, that she was scared that we would take her away from the mother, even though it's crap. And then I should have just said it's bullshit and it's out of thin air accusation. But instead I was analyzing the mother and saying, yeah, I don't know to what degree it is true. Even if it happened, you probably manipulated my daughter into being worried. But I know that my daughter sometimes has the hysteria, that we were watching a child show, and only because there was the character in the child show going close to water, my daughter was shouting and running to the other room and saying, oh no, maybe the person in the cartoon will drown. I was talking about that, and then directly, of course, the mother was like, huh, weird. If she's at my place, this never happens. You see, directly taking everything again as fuel for further accusations and wrong assumptions about me. So I should not lower my guard and be so naive about any positive remnant in this woman. She is completely just bad somehow. Yeah, but it's just so ridiculous how the entire system works. The therapy sessions, I'm sure if I would have stayed calm, then the whole discussion would take another turn. Because if I would not feed the whole accusations, then we couldn't have continued talking about them, and we would talk about more reasonable stuff, I guess. But this way, the way it went, the therapist was like, okay, obviously you are both too much in a fighting situation, and we cannot continue these discussions because they don't lead to any success. That's bad for me, because the court wants us to prove that we can discuss together, communicate. So now the mother got her point that we cannot. And this is not fair at all, because she was provoking me, and this is why it went the way it went. So with this person you have to be very careful, because she, for me, is the devil herself, and with the devil itself you have to basically once more be perfect to be able to fight him off and not make him pull you down and evoke your own negativity. And this is exactly what happened. She evoked my own negativity. Luckily this was not at the court, but just during therapy. But the system is just so skewed, because it doesn't care about logic. You know, the therapy, they should care about logic, and the therapist should also agree that her accusations are random, but instead he's just listening, and I have to completely explain my point by myself. And even in the court, all of those people that work in the court and everywhere, they are biased human beings, and then if you are not in your highest energy and you argue or you get triggered, they directly assume, aha, then she must have a point, the mother, if he gets so triggered. And then, oh yeah, he was now getting angry, so maybe he really is not a good person for the daughter. So you can get treated unfair all the time. She will use manipulation, she will lie, and then only because you are not keeping calm, she gets her way. Because the system highly favors the women and doesn't care about fairness. And this is why you have to have the proper semen retention charisma, so that you can stay the most grounded and get your point. It's just ridiculous. Oh, let me tell you quickly 2 more aspects that fit the conversation that I had right now. First of all, when I always was worried and had to go to the lawyer and I went to the church, one time there was also an older man in the church who would not talk, and I was there with him in the church, and then suddenly the guy comes who is responsible for the church. He came in and told us we have to leave and it's not officially open. We always went in through a back door, side door that was open in the church. It's like God still had one side door open for us. Because for me, for example, it was also important. I don't know what was going on in the life of the other man. I think he's like a lost soul who always finds comfort by going to the church. But for me, it was also very important and supportive. I felt supported by God that I could go to the church while I had these issues going on with the suing. And so the man came and said, we have to leave. And I came to him, walked up to him and told him, this is a house of God. It should be open. I don't understand why this is happening, why you put us out here. But of course I went, but I thought I made a powerful statement in this moment. And the other thing I want to quickly mention is, I think it's so funny how always my life circumstances help me. Already in the past, when I had to leave my former dormitory, at the same time I was done at university and I changed to another type of university close by. And so I could go to another dormitory right next to the dormitory where I used to live. And it's an evangelical Christian dormitory. And there I was spending 5 years. So somehow Christianity always finds its way back into my life in some ways. And the other university that I had to switch to, it was directly a few steps away from this dormitory. It is just so easy how it all aligned for me. Also later when I had my startup job, it was directly at the former university where I used to go, which I enjoyed because I could still go to the Mensa to eat at the students' place and everything when I had lunch break. And it was there at the startup center. So I think it's just cool how for me stuff always aligns in a way that is practical. Also now, my new girlfriend, she lives in a place that I can always spend there the night. And when I have to go to the therapy sessions, which are now over, but when I had to go to the therapy sessions with the mother of my child, I had just to cross the street and walk a few steps and I'm directly at the therapy session. I think it's just nice how God always aligns locations for me, that it's easier for me. You know, other people, they have to travel for hours to get somewhere, and for me this is not the case, because then I just refuse. I wouldn't take a job that is far away, because I know if I believe in it, God at some point will provide something for me that is close by. Also, even without release, I highly recommend you don't edge daily. In my previous video I said edging without release can train your stamina for during bed, and this is correct. But if you do it repeatedly, your energy gets too stiff and you're too self-observant and too tensed up, and this also destroys your ability to flow in social situations. So I'm still experimenting with this, and keep in mind, edging can be beneficial, but only balanced and not daily. I'm still figuring this out. Sometimes a little release is more helpful when you're too tense, because you get again more flowing and less tense. And this is also something I'm figuring out. But I think the release is something that is just like an emergency switch when you are already too tense from too much edging. And if I would learn to edge less often, then maybe I can balance and then I don't need any releases. So I think the real trick to have optimal charisma, as well as being able to last long in bed, would be to edge, but not too often. This is something I'm learning now. Okay, see you next time. Like, share, subscribe. Bye!